Oh,
because
yeah.
I've got a very, very old Mac.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, High Sierra, I think it was really not doing it anymore. It was starting to run
Right.
into problems. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so my machine is from 2014. That'll give you a bit of an idea as to how old it is.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'll see if I can update it, and then found I couldn't even update the damn thing because it was basically too old. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
had a whole fun time. And so every time I've gone to do anything, I've had this
Yeah.
petrifying fear of, oh God, what if this isn't the thing that works? What if the go live button is one of the things that Mojave just suddenly breaks? So
Oh gosh, that's
fingers
just me.
crossed.
That's just me with computers in general. I don't know what I'm doing. So, yeah.
Oh, well, you do a pretty good impression of somebody who does. I mean, you must know something. You do
I
all the
know.
editing and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, that. Yeah, I do that. I don't do the VFX or anything like that though. So fortunately, I work with great talented people as well. So
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
get by.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm just checking to see whether or not we've actually gone live properly because the numbers
Yeah.
haven't gone up, and also it hasn't come up on my um, thing, my phone, to say that we have gone live. So I just want to make sure that yes, no, we are live. Good, excellent. The number went up by 1 because it was me. Just make sure that it's all working. Yep. Comments are working. Good. Yes, sweet. Awesome.
All good.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not. Okay, right. Yeah, cool. Sorry, I just making sure because I had it and it was just paused on my screen and I was like, well, that's not good. What's going on? And I realized that you have to hit the play button for people to actually be able to see. Also, we normally do this quite a bit later on a Friday night. On average,
right.
like we start at 9 or something like that. But
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well,
so I think a lot of people are generally doing their after work thing.
yeah, having
Hey,
dinner. Yeah.
there's our Rob. You managed to get here on time, Rob. Well done. Good evening indeed. Yeah, I guess it is the thing of trying to do the dinners, and also it's Friday night. Friday night is the
Yeah.
time for going to the pub.
And then coming home completely sloshed and watch this feed.
Yes. Oh, we've got a Missy there. Missy is joining us, and is a big
Oh,
hell's yeah to
Missy.
coming home. So there you go. I don't know whether or not you can see it when I put the comments up on the screen.
Oh, I can. Yeah, this is good. Yep. I
Excellent.
was on a podcast and none of these messages were popping up. So people were asking questions and compliments and all these kind of things, and I had no idea. It was like just being left out of the conversation or the joke, and just smile and wave.
Well, you won't have to. And the only problem is that I need to remember to actually hit the button to show you.
All right.
So
okay.
you know how it is. It's a good time.
Yep.
It's a real good time.
Yep. Fun times.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now I know that there's at least a couple of people here. I guess before we start, I'm going to say to the people who are here, we will do the usual kind of open mic stuff a little bit later on. And you also have a million questions. Awesome.
I'm strapping myself in.
Gird your loins, Richard. Gird your loins. Which I found out what that means, and it's really a weird thing for people to do.
Okay.
Yeah. I was never entirely sure what girding your loins meant. Turns out it's kind of tying your cock up.
I kind of figured that's what it was. Yeah, I had a bazillion pictures going through my mind, none of them pleasant.
No, no, no. It's when you're going into battle, much like when you're wearing a kilt, just make sure that you tie the wang up so that nobody can get an accidental grip on you. So
Yeah.
gird your loins indeed. But yeah, we'll have a bit of a chat with Richard, and then we will open it up so that people can ask. Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I mean, women, I'm assuming, can gird their loins. I just maybe that's more of a girding, as in like building girders around them. I don't know. I'm not sure. Hey, hoi hoi, Predicanga, how you doing, buddy? Okay, so let's kick it off. Hey everybody, welcome to the Periodic Table of Awesome. This is a special podcast. It's also a special live show for those people who are here live on Twitch. We are talking to the director of a film called A Blaster in the Right Hands, and I am going to have to admit straight up, I got the name wrong many times. I thought it was A Blaster in the Right Hand. And I got very confused about this. So, director Richard DiCarvalho, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on, Quinny.
Oh, look, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, full disclosure, I have known Richard for 7 years now.
Oh, yeah, 7, yeah. Yeah, 7.
yeah. And as a part of that, we have had a lot of fun together. We started working together in event cinemas as a part of In the House. And I'm also realizing I can hear how far my delay is in your ears. Oh.
Oh, hang on a sec.
No, you haven't lost me. I'm here.
All the streaming woes. Okay, yeah. So what was that?
So we got together. We got together. We were working together on In the House.
Yep.
And then
that's right. So we were together on. Yep.
You know, look. You know what? If I ask a question, you just answer it. You just go for it, and I will shut up and let you do your thing.
Yep. So we worked together on In the House at Event Cinemas. So you were the amazing host, and I did a lot of the videography and events there, along with Carol, so my wife and partner in crime, who was the photographer of that event. I did a lot of the marketing side of things as well, so the poster and a lot of those trailers, at least for the first 3 seasons. So, but that's spawned off our beautiful friendship and collaboration. And then after that, I cast you in Lunacraft did a co-production for a horror web anthology series, and I directed 1 episode of that where I cast you in it. We had
now what was that one called, Rich?
That was I forget. Hang on a second. What was that?
you directed this.
It was set in Egypt. Where was it?
It was. Oh, Richard, I'm shocked and appalled that you can't remember our beautiful time together. And you know what?
It was.
I'm so upset. I'm going to put it on the screen now, so that everybody can see this magnificent thing, which is called Where the Jackal Sleeps.
That's it.
So this, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit just so that you can see it. But so what was the witness articles all about?
Okay, so it was basically a group of us. I studied at Afters, and I met a lot of these are wonderful people that I'm so lucky enough to call friends, and especially one of them being Eric Magnuson, who's been my kind of writing partner for a lot of things. And he started his little kind of foundation called Rogue Ventures, and he had this burning desire, this ambitious burning desire to make a horror anthology series. And at the time, there weren't that many, at least independent web anthology series, at least not, coming from Australia. And I mean, ones that didn't have any kind of funding. So he was, incredibly ambitious in wanting to do an episode each weekend. And I was like, there's no way. You read these scripts. There's no way we can shoot this in 2 days. You're crazy.
I didn't realize that was his original plan, was do it in a weekend.
That's what he wanted to, because it was just one of these things, getting the band together, outside of, our studies and everything. But I mean, you read these things, and he's such a great screenwriter. But I mean, you look at what is involved, and yes, you can make this independently and for next to nothing. But yeah, you have to be really realistic, and you have to really make some, quality work out of his writing. So there was an episode he had in mind for me to direct eventually, and also to do as a co-production with Lunacraft. Because at the time we started up Lunacraft, but we were really doing a lot of client work. Like, again, there was Event Cinemas where you and I met and worked, but we were also doing a lot of work for Blizzard Entertainment, Rooster Teeth.
Which is where Missy first met you, I believe, as a part of RTX.
At one of the big RTX during their tours. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I mean, and that was just it for a little startup company that we had with Lunacraft. Out the gates, we were doing extremely well. Sorry,
I just want to point out to everybody who's watching this where this was shot. Like, this looks amazing.
So this was Egypt, aka Cronulla sand dunes. So yeah, again, with a bit of a little imagination and finding your camera angles, you can really, go for
but also a bit of scene extension here, there, and everywhere. I think it's awesome.
And so coming to this, the original episode that Eric wanted me to make never really happened, because he wrote this script. This was episode 4 in his series. There you are, Quinny.
Hey, look at me! Yes. Wait until you see the moustache. That's all you need to know. The moustache does all of the acting for me. Like, you may have Indiana Jones, but you also have Dr. Robotnik.
The original a guy that was meant to direct this, I think, pulled out. I think he got cold feet when he read the script. He was like, "There's no way we can do this."
Look at that thing.
There he is. Fantastic.
And my dodgy French accent. Hang on, let's see if we can get a little bit of the French.
Not uncommon in temples and catacombs. And this speaks of the weighing of the art. Strange.
What is it?
Well, perhaps it's not so much a warning. This tablet seems to indicate it is some sort of key.
Key.
To the realm of the dead.
Oh, fantastic. I love it.
Oh, man. Sorry.
Oh, it's great.
I have not been fooled. I love it. Everyone's like, what the fuck, Quinny?
So
I'm very proud that people are able to see this shit.
Yeah, I know. It's great. So this was like a throwback to the old Universal movie monsters, those kind of films. The script was just a lot of fun to make, and just to kind of do a lot of those throwbacks to those old horror movies. So there's a lot of nods in there. But yeah, we had a ball making this.
Oh yeah, it was so fun. It was hard work, like traipsing around on those sand dunes for quite a long time on that day. Like, it was a long day of shooting, and you did another couple of other days of shooting as well. Dead camel.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, this was all this was all just basically on a shoestring. I always say that this was made on a shoestring budget, but I wish we had the shoestring. So it's that kind of low budget, but it's amazing what you can actually accomplish when you've got great people and wonderful talented people at hand, and you can really make truly amazing things. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'll turn that off now because I was just getting distracted by my own magnificent acting. And I apologize to everybody who's in the stream who's like, this should have had a warning.
No,
yeah, you're right. It should have had. I'm sorry.
Everybody. Spoilers. Actually, I was about to spoil the film. Yeah, just go watch it. Just
Yeah. Yeah. I'll put a link in the chat, but we'll put a link in the show notes as well as to where you can find it, and you too can be a part of. You could start up your own fan club for whatever. What was his name? Delacroix.
Oh yeah, Delacroix, Professor Delacroix. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I like it. Quiddy, you were a star. Yes, past tense.
Yeah. You got to. There's a great moment featuring Queenie in the film that I really want to talk about, but I would end up spoiling it. So you just have to watch it.
We won't do that.
I have been speaking with Eric about doing a because that's actually it's on YouTube, but it's through I think the Rogue Ventures channel, so not through Lunacraft. But I was speaking with Eric recently about doing like this little soft relaunch and bringing it back, but inspired by the Mad Max, the Blood and Chrome edition where it was black and white. Because that was it. Like I was really inspired by, I'm a huge fan of those classic Universal movie monsters, and I would have loved to actually have released this in black and white, but when we were originally making it, we really didn't give it too much thought. But ever since we made it, which was how many years ago now?
5 or 6 at least now.
Yeah, 5 years ago. It always comes back into my mind, and I always think about just going back and bringing it back, but doing a whole black and white version. I think it'll give it a different quality.
I would also say that there is now a different kind of market for things like that. That there's a streaming service out there that is purely for horror called Shudder. And like one of the guests that we had at Supernova that we will talk about sometime soon is a guy called Enzo Tedeschi who has done a short. So you sound like you know Enzo.
Yeah, I don't know him personally. Well, not yet, but I'm a huge fan of his work. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, he's got a 6-part horror anthology that they're short films, and sold it to Shudder, and it is now on there doing great things. I'm like, you know what? You've made these films. There are places that want content, so
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think everything with the events of obviously last year, we don't really need to get into that. But
2020 does not count.
No. But it changed the landscape for films and filmmakers, for creatives in general, really. We'll talk about Blaster and everything, but I always wanted to release Blaster before The Mandalorian, season 1, but we had certain logistical issues and everything. And the reason why is because I've had this idea for so long, but obviously we didn't have that kind of big studio money. We're little indie, fan filmmakers at this point, and it just didn't happen. But if there's one thing this production taught me is just, as a creative, you don't force things. You just let it flow. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that you just sit on your ass and not do anything. But the thing is, once you force something, it's unnatural. Once you're inspired, you just roll. And then it becomes this snowball effect in the best possible way. And you just got to trust that things will work out. Filmmaking is this bizarre thing where it gets really exciting. Everything feels like it's working out. And then things start falling apart. and it starts causing all this chaos, and you're on the verge of a nervous breakdown. You start thinking, "Oh God, what am I doing with my life? Why did I do this?" And then all of a sudden, you start trying to convince yourself that it's all going to work out, it's all going to be for the best, and you almost look like a crazy person rocking in the corner of a room, going, "It's all going to be good, it's going to be fine, it'll be fine." And you know what? When you've got the right people and you just persist and you work and you've got focus, it finds a way. It works out, and it works out the way it's meant to. And that's the thing. I don't think Blaster would have had, the amount of success that it has had, at least in terms of time, because it's just gone crazy bonkers for us over here. But had it been released before then, maybe, but I just truly think that in this period where we released it, where we had our premiere at the end of last year at the Sydney Science Fiction Film Festival, and then ever since that, it just every film festival it hit, it's just been word of mouth and through the whole social network, and that's the thing. People have been hungry for content, but a certain type of content. And I don't just mean that, Star Wars. I just mean like, something a bit fresh, and especially
Missy's
homegrown.
asked you a question in the chat there of what gets you over that hump, and in a way I feel like you were kind of answering it, saying that the people who want the content.
Yes, absolutely. I think the one thing is it's really hard. Because I think we all have those moments where you just feel like giving up, and I think it's one of those things where it's just like, again, if it was easy, everyone would do it. But the thing is, when you've got a good support network, because at the end of the day, the only person that's going to get you over that hump is yourself, right? Despite the support that you have there. But having the right kind of people around you, and sometimes it could only just be the one person, and that's all you need. It's that moment of time of finding that kind of strength and believing in yourself. I know it's really cliched to say, but it's the honest to God truth. I've been personally, I've been in a lot of dark corners and dark spots in my life, and it's just coming to that realization of, pulling yourself through, and then looking at the people around you that are actually there, so not taking anything in your life for granted, and not being hard on yourself as well. I think one of the things is when you get to a certain age, you start really not giving too much a damn about what other people think. Do you know
I
what
think
I
it's
mean?
really important not to. I think it gets very important, to go,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm doing my shit, and what your shit is doesn't actually really impact on me that much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. The thing is, you are not going to please everyone, and you have to come to terms with that. And the stuff that you enjoy doing, and your voice in particular, your single voice, is shared with other people there. You're not alone. You're never alone. So that's that's the thing that you've got to realize. Because in those moments when you're trying to get over that hump, you do feel alone and you feel worthless and you feel like you can't do anything. Oh, what's the point? But no, because like for something like this, being a fan film and everything, this was an idea like many ideas that I have that are written or drawn out, where I've got it there, and if it doesn't get off the ground immediately, I shelve it, and it just sits there. And every now and again, I come back to it. I don't bin it straight away, unless it's god awful. But you need that space to walk away and come back to it and go, gee, what was I thinking? And go, actually, this wasn't too bad, or this is good.
Yeah. Sorry, we just lost you for a little second. There were other things in between. You're saying giving yourself a bit of space. So there are other short films that you've been involved in. One of which I do just want to just show, because I think it's lovely and it shows a lot of the kind of scope that you guys have. So this is one of your other films that people probably may not have heard of, but you can find online, of course, in the wonderful world of YouTube. Can you tell us just a little bit about why you made Lenny?
Lenny came from a real interesting chance encounter. I'm a huge Muppets fan, and
I don't know, you can't see it behind me, but there are 3 Muppets literally sitting up behind me.
Yeah. So what happened was, it was a chance encounter. At the time, we were working with producer Lauren Simpson, and she had a friend who's a photographer who was coming up. She was doing a gig for Tiger Air. It was an airline. I'm pretty sure it was Tiger. I could be wrong. But the gig that she was doing was coming to Sydney for her experience. So it was her very first time. But come to Sydney and taking photos around the city, but using this puppet she had called Lenny. And I loved this puppet. And so, being her first time in Sydney, we met her. We took her around all the sites of Sydney, but I was basically Lenny's handler. And so I was puppeteering the whole night, and it was like I was possessed. Something came over me. So I'd be engaging with you as I am now, but Lenny would have a life of his own. So we'd be in the restaurant talking, and someone would walk, and I'd use my peripheral vision, and Lenny would just be engaging with another person while I'm engaging. It was weird. It's like my personality split in two. And I just had such a ball. And then I was driving home, and I was having a laugh with Carol in the car. And then I just pitched her the story of Lenny, and I said, "Wouldn't it be funny?" And I just, from beginning to end, I just had this little short idea. And then Lauren gives me this call to not ask how the night went with Samara. Her first thing out of her mouth was, "How was Lenny?" And we just laughed, and it was hilarious. And then I pitched the idea to her. She's just straight out, "That's it, we're doing it." I was like, "Hang on a second, it was just a joke." It's like, no, it's brilliant. I love it so much. We're making it. And that's how it happened. And it was the first time I actually worked with a crew in Melbourne. So a crew that wasn't a Lunarcraft crew, because we're based in Sydney. So it was just myself, Carol, and our production designer, Anya, that we flew we flew down
Jetstar?
to yeah.
Tiger? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we flew down Tiger. Anyway, but yeah, so and then we made it, and I think we did it in 3 days. So it was a very tight shoot. Yeah, that's the one thing with our productions, is that they're very tight turnarounds. They're very tight shoots, simply because mostly everyone is volunteering, and so we can't really waste time. And we need to get the best that we possibly can with whatever resources we have, and that includes the time of the people that we have on at hand.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, once again, you can find Lenny on YouTube, and it is a lovely little film, and I love just all of the stuff with puppets, because anything with puppets is better as far as I'm concerned. Which then kind of brings us. Well, you go.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to add. Yeah, it was the first time I was directing, but also kind of starring in it in a weird way, because I was puppeteering. I was Lenny, so that was a strange thing for me, especially when we're doing the park scene, and I'm directing that scene, but then I'm also puppeteering, and I'm basically on a little dolly. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just being wheeled down this path, and it was just a bizarre challenge to do.
I just love that
I've never done
in
before.
some way, shape, or form, you're channeling your own Jim Henson, your inner Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Having to
absolutely
direct whilst lying backwards with your hand up a sock.
Yep, exactly. I mean, Carol and I have a lot of laughs about. We always looked back on that the Star Wars with Blaster, it was always a bucket list kind of thing to do, and life is short, so let's just go off and make it and see what happens. But then I look back and I'm like, yeah, I've been ticking a few things off my bucket list. Make a Muppet movie, make a Star Wars movie. So. Yeah.
Well, what else is on that bucket list? Or should we come back to that after we've had a bit more of a chat about Blaster?
Yeah.
Because I think there's yeah, there's a lot that we can talk about, but let's now move on and talk about a blaster in the right hands, not a blaster in the right hand, singular. So what we might do is we're going to play a trailer or the trailer. And Missy does have a question in there. Is that how Blaster started? So we'll come back to that question, but we're going to play a trailer. You can have a look at it, and then we'll talk about Blaster and how it came to be and what you had in mind when you were creating it. So here we go.
The Outer Rim can be a dangerous place. You never know when you might run into curious people.
I am not leaving without that cargo!
Here we are. So, Rob said, following the Frank Oz career path, Muppet movie, Star Wars movie. So what's next? And Missy then says MCU, clearly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If to answer that question, I don't know what's next. I ultimately would like. I'm currently developing a animated series. So we're in early pre-production from next month on that. And obviously that's a project that we will be developing, but with the intention of to seek funding. And at the same time, I'm also developing my first feature, hopefully, knock on wood, first feature film, which is a horror thriller. Both complete original ideas and everything.
Do you need a ludicrous Frenchman with a terrible moustache? That's all I need to know.
Possibly.
Sorry.
No, we'll see.
Just
We'll
French
see.
accent.
So yeah, look, MCU. Oh my gosh. Look, I love those films. I love the Marvel films, the whole MCU. I think it's incredible. I mean, we can talk about that much later. But I'm a huge fan. But in terms of any more fan films with the reception that Blaster has been getting lately, we have been in serious talks about doing the follow-up, so the sequel to it. So, which is actually the original story I wanted to make. The reason why I didn't make that story is purely logistical. We just couldn't achieve that. So that's when I met with Eric Magnuson, again, who we've worked with, across numerous productions, including the witness articles. So I sat there and I just started saying, I pitched him this sort of prequel to the idea, and that's how Blaster came out of it. But it came out simply because it was. I think it was just on the dawn of Force Awakens. So just before Force Awakens was coming out, Star Wars Celebration was just around the corner, and they had Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams there, and they had a huge Star Wars film festival that they were basically putting this whole call out to filmmakers around the world to make a to enter into it, and it'll be judged. J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy would judge, and yeah, you'd score that accolade. So that sort of was the instigator, really. That's what was the catalyst to sort of dust off the idea. And really, I went to Eric and I pitched him this whole good, the bad, and the ugly scenario, because I wanted to always make a space western. Because growing up, Star Wars to me, ever since I was a kid, was a space western, and I loved space cowboys. You know, I grew up on a heavy dose of 80s sci-fi films and cartoons. Like I loved Brave Star. Does anyone
Really?
remember Brave Star?
Fuck yes, I remember Brave Star.
So-
With the thing I loved the most about Brave Star was the toys, because they
Yes.
all came with
Yeah.
a little piece of cerium,
Yep.
which was these little red crystals.
Yep.
Like
That's
I
right.
had Brave Star and Tex Hex, and at one point, this
Yep.
is the level of the depth of my nerdery. I converted Tex Hex into a version of Doom 2099.
Nice. Yeah, I
Resculpted the
like
head and
that.
everything like that. It was I
Yeah,
was having
yeah.
a good time.
Well, do you remember the wagon? And
Oh yeah.
the wagon would transform. This is the thing that I loved about this whole space western, subgenre, is that you'd have this thing that would look like this, pimped up wagon, sci-fi wagon, and the wagon wheels would actually then fold in, and the thing would look like this wagon DeLorean and would fly off. And it was just the
I
coolest
have no
freaking thing. And
memory of that whatsoever.
yeah, I had the toy, right? So that I remember as a child, I had this kind of Western wagon, and it had a handle on the back, and you'd clinch it, and when you clinch it, the wagon wheels would just fold right under, and yeah, you'd fly off with it. And it was the coolest kind of thing, and I just love that whole concept, that whole those two genres of what a Western would be, even a spaghetti or a John Ford Western, with all this kind of sci-fi, flying spaceships and androids, and yeah, it was just the coolest kind of thing. So I grew up with all this kind of stuff, but at the center of it, Star Wars was a huge thing.
Yeah. Oh, look. The desire to
There he
do.
is, yeah.
Yeah, there he is. 2020. But yeah, so the desire to do the space western. I mean, many would say that Star Wars, by its nature, is a space western.
But by its nature, it was always coined as this space opera, and what that means is the melodrama. That's the thing. So when you look at when you watch Star Wars and you go, oh, that the dialogue or the script or some of these characters and everything. Well, I mean, it's meant to be that. It's meant to be a bit soap opera, it's Lucas riffing off those little dramas that he used to kind of like watch, like Buck Rogers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that has a distinct voice, it has a distinct language. What Lucas did was he brought cinema to it, again, riffing off a great American Western directors, filmmakers, and Akira Kurosawa as well.
Yeah.
So you had basically space samurai, space.
And I mean,
wizards.
as everyone knows, that the original Star Wars was based very, very heavily on a Japanese film, like almost sort of beat for beat. And I want to say Hidden Fortress, was it?
That's it. Yeah, it was Hidden Fortress. So if you were to see this, if you were to look at Hidden Fortress, that was basically the foundation for Star Wars as a blueprint, but Lucas made it his own. The Hidden Fortress and the original Star Wars, which is now we call A New Hope, beat for beat, structurally exactly the same, right? But within that, Lucas had these strokes of genius that I think is just so, it's in all the subtext, right? Because he was riffing off a lot of other things, making it relatable, interesting characters, metaphors, a lot of metaphors and allegories through it. So he really took it to another level. And then by the time we got to Empire, that's where it really broke free and did its own thing. And that's where I really think Lucas started to really, open the floodgates of his imagination of where he wanted to kind of go. But at the center of it was always
I'd also say that at by the time you get to Empire, it's also the point where he's realized that he needs other people.
Yes. Yeah.
He wants other people around him. And things like Irvin Kershner and stuff like that are very definitely the people that made that stuff.
Absolutely. And this is the thing that I always say, why I love doing what I do is it's the collaboration, it's the team. It's easier said than done, because what's really important and crucial, and you may not find straight away, is your tribe, right? So the people that you can really work with, that you can collaborate with. In this instance with George Lucas, I mean, talk about an amazing class act. Well, his best friends were Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, and Brian De Palma. I mean, that is insane, right?
Whatever.
So, but
nobody's.
In the Spielberg documentary, there's a great HBO Spielberg documentary where they talk about the infamous Star Wars crawl, the text crawl that opens up every film. And that was Brian De Palma's idea. And simply because the first cut of Star Wars was so atrocious that when he showed this to everyone was just silent. And Spielberg was sitting there feeling for Lucas, and it was Brian De Palma that, in classic fashion, got up and just went, "What the fuck was that? What does it mean?" And so it was his idea to actually create the infamous scrolling text. The crawl. But that is just one example of many. I mean, the first Star Wars movie was saved in the editing room by his then wife. I think there was like 3 or 4 editors that worked on the film, including his ex-wife now, that I think ended up winning an Academy Award. But I mean, that was it. The edit rewrote the film. And made Star Wars what it is today. So this amazing thing, George is a visionary, but what we have today is the work of many of the people that supported him.
Yeah. And I think it's an interesting thing that, when it's at its worst, sorry, there was somebody talking in the background that I'm now trying to kill. When Star Wars is at its worst, it becomes homogenized. It becomes essentially somebody, like one person's voice, and perhaps doesn't have the input. Like, a lot of people aren't huge fans of the prequel trilogy, and that was very much just George's voice. And I think those are films that would do better to have had a few people in there just going, actually, George, mate, a little bit less of that, or maybe we don't want to do that much of the fucking pod race or whatever. but then you get to the point where you hit the final trilogy, and it's the exact opposite of that.
Yeah. But that's right. So I mean, the one thing, and this is, I think, is a good thing, is that the sequel trilogy, whether you love it or hate it, it served as a really good example of George's kind of storytelling, the visionary, right? Because he had a story, he had a plan. We just needed to be patient to see all these stories fold out. There are amazing kind of B-roll, like behind the scenes footage, where you actually see these meeting rooms, especially with Dave Filoni, who is basically, as far as I'm concerned, George Lucas's successor. He's the one who's been in these rooms with him. He's had that window into George's mind, so he knows front and back what the Star Wars universe means, what it represents, and where it can go. So there's no other better person than Dave Filoni. And when you see this, you have to be in awe of George's imagination and also respect as well. But then it comes down to the actual craft, right? So, when you watch the prequels, like I had issues with certain things with the prequels, but I still
So,
have
sorry, when we say that, like this is episode 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So episodes 1, 2, and 3. But the amazing thing that I see with that is how it's actually looked back, and people love it now. So there are still things that obviously people don't like, but it's got this weird thing where when the movies came out, people hated it with a
Yeah.
burning passion. Where now it's almost coined and celebrated in a way that it's kind of so bad that it's good. Certain things, not the films in general, but like certain scenes or phrases of dialogue, and it makes me think because I unlike many others weren't as privy to watch Star Wars when the original saga when it came out in the cinemas. I was introduced on VHS.
Same.
And it blew my mind. Yeah. So, but and obviously we don't back then. The internet did not exist, so it was all through newspapers and word of mouth. So, what was the actual reception? And as far as I know, critically, it wasn't taken very seriously, and it was quite poorly received, as was like Blade Runner, which is taught in universities now.
Yeah.
So it's amazing these kind of works that are in some way ahead of its time, whether visually or aesthetically or the innovation or what have you. But the appreciation that grows, and Star Wars has been this one constant thing that has never really died down. It's always been there, and it's just depending on the generation, it just grows. So that's been the most amazing thing. So when like George did the special editions, and that kind of came out. That was a huge thing for me because I've got to actually see these films on the big screen, and gain a new appreciation for it. But then you start really splitting hairs at certain things of what Star Wars means to you personally,
And I think
that's
that
interesting.
that is where we're at with that, because now it is a multi-generational saga, and so there are people of your and my age group who, for Star Wars means a thing. There are people of the next generation down who are now in their 20s, like, or even late 20s, early 30s, who Star Wars means a very different thing.
That's it. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like for me, my perfect Star Wars is what I grew up with, which is the original untouched classic trilogy.
Yeah.
There are things in the special edition that I respect and that don't bother me, and then there are other things that I'm just like, oh, that was really not necessary. But at the end of the day, it is George's kind of vision, and he was a person who was just light years ahead of the tech. I mean, he founded these amazing companies that we have today that are just innovators in their field, like ILM and Skywalker Sound. He was also responsible. He was one of many that was responsible for Pixar as well. Like the list goes on.
Well, I mean, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that he's responsible for that a lot of people aren't even sort of aware of, which is things like editing. Like it's a stupid thing to say it, but things like non-linear editing using computers, which we are now, we're so used to. You've got iMovie on your MacBook, and most people don't know how to use it, but it's there.
Yeah.
Because of George Lucas, we get
And off the back, that's the thing. On one side, you've got the toxic fandom, which I can't really stand because I don't think any fandom, whether it's Marvel, DC or Star Wars, for example, it's just not what it's not what should represent us. But you've got that voice that comes in and just could slam someone like Lucas and just easy target. It's the merchandising rights, and everything.
Yeah.
If you're in his position, he almost lost his career. Like there was a lot that he was banking on, and he wasn't going to make a single dime from Star Wars. And this was a film that went over time, over budget. Like the amount of stress and everything. And the studio was that blind because at the time studios didn't see profit from merchandising. And
But then again,
then
you
it was
look at when it was, like the late
Yeah.
70s, you know, the biggest film that was around at that time was Jaws. You're not selling
Yeah,
an awful
yeah.
lot of Bruce action figures.
Well, that's it. Well, it was the film before that was The Exorcist. So you had The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
Then you had Jaws, and then it was Star Wars, and that was the real game changer. All three of those films were game changers, but Star Wars really changed everything, and it continues to inspire so many people, including myself. I made a fan film, so
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's that
So
it is that kind of crazy thing.
what is the long-term goal for doing a fan film like this? Is it just to get it out of your system, or is it to say, okay, here's my calling card? What's the goal?
There is a few. I'd say the ultimate goal, to be completely frank, is just to get it out of my system. That's just it.
Yeah.
I just feel like, you get to a point, and some people don't really. Some people do. I don't know. I can't speak for people, but
Who knows?
I just got to a point where I just went, life is too short. I would dream for the possibility of ever working on, let alone a massive, set and doing some high ambition storytelling, let alone a Lucasfilm or even an episode of Star Wars. That would be the ultimate kind of dream. Yeah, I've got a lot of other stories and personal stories and a lot of other things, original things that I want to do, but I would relish in that kind of opportunity. And it just came to a point where it was like, it just felt like now or never, but it was this strange thing because Blaster is third time, it was a charm, so it was third time's a charm. Because
So when you
we
say
tried,
that, how does that mean? You've had a go at trying to make it 3 times?
yeah, exactly. So there were 2 previous attempts that failed miserably, and including one where for example, I think it was our second attempt where we found a location that I can't even remember. It was somewhere up north of Sydney somewhere, that I thought the location could have worked. I wasn't too sold on it, but I was like, yeah, I could make it work. But then we had to seek council permits, and then we were told that we needed an armorer's license. And I was like, we at the time we didn't have original props, but we had like these done up Nerf guns. I was like, these are like toy guns and everything. And it's like, yeah, no, you still need an armorer's license. And we went through tooth and nail to find out how we can get around this to shoot in this place, because it was public property, and therefore we needed this license. And when we started researching armorer's license, just for having a fake dart gun, it would have cost us between anywhere like a few hundred, to $1,000, for basically having the guy there standing and making the easiest money he would have made,
Yeah,
in his career. So
what is dangerous
it
here?
was
Nothing.
yeah, exactly. So because everything we were going to do, they're lasers. We're going to do everything in post anyway, and we weren't using any pyrotechnics or anything like that. So it was one of those instances where that was a huge hurdle to get by. And I remember, them telling us that, New South Wales is the party pooper state, that we could probably get away with doing this in anywhere else. I was like, well, we're all Sydney based, so there's no real chance to get around this. So we knew that we needed to try and do, it was always going to be an exterior shoot. So we just needed to find private property, or get an armorer, so save that money. So that was just one of the major hurdles in the second attempt. But there was a lot of others. But during that time, obviously with different projects that we were working on and different client work as well that we were doing, we were meeting these like-minded, amazing kind of creative people, and these great friendships were forming. And then it just got to that third time where it was this chance encounter where, we met, our prop master, so Dylan. And Dylan used to be part of the 501st, and he was. I blame him Because he really inspired us. We met him. I think it was at your party, actually. Yeah, it was.
I was going to
We were
say,
celebrating your
was this at a
birthday.
party? Yeah.
Yeah, we were celebrating your birthday, and I only met Dylan once. Again, chance encounter. This is how. Remember what I was saying about how things just, you don't force things; that it just happens. So
Yep.
at the time, Carol and I were talking about some of our older ideas. What are we going to make this year? What should we kind of move forward? We were invited to the Australian premiere of Solo, a Star Wars story, and there we met two great people, including Scott and Dylan there, and then we found out that we had a mutual friend, a very good friend, whose name was Quinny, that was having a birthday that week.
I'm
And that was
amused that
it.
you met, because I remember going to that premiere and I had a terrible time because I was in a lot of pain. I'd done something to my foot, and so I had a miserable time of it, and I hated the film.
So I
It
was
was my birthday.
Oh, that's right. It was your birthday week. So
Yeah, well, no,
and
that film actually
oh,
premiered on my birthday, and I
oh
went to watch it. I
wow.
was in
Okay.
heaps of pain, and I
Oh
hated the film.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh no. You go back and watch it. It's not that bad.
Okay. Well, I will.
No, but that was it. So we met yes, Scott and Dylan there. And that was just, yeah, a weird chance encounter. And then we found out, yeah, I mean, we were all going to the same birthday that party that week. And it was when Dylan was showing at the party, he was showing these photos, amazing photos of this Judge Dredd costume he made, and
That's
this thing
right.
was just immaculate, right? So based on Dredd, the Carl Urban film. So we're huge fans of that. But when I saw the talent this guy had at making that, it really, and then the next picture was his Boba Fett costume. And so when I
Oh
saw that
yeah.
Boba Fett costume, that really went, oh my God, this week I was just talking about this fan film that I've been, wanting to kind of do. So I said to him, hey, would you be interested in reading the script? Tell me what you think. Being a massive Star Wars, a Star Wars fan, and obviously with the 501st background and everything. So he read it. He absolutely loved it. The only feedback I got was like, "We've got to make this." That was it. And then that's what kicked off this long kind of journey.
Oh no. I appear to have lost Richard, so hopefully I'll be able to get him back. I know his internet connection was kind of rough, but yeah. So I do remember that. Yep, there we go. He's back.
Oh, I dropped out there.
Hey,
Hello.
hey, how you doing? Welcome back.
I think I was waffling on too much.
Yeah, the internet has said, "Get to the fucking monkey." No, I'm kidding. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, Predakanga's like, this is now a solo stream. Get out. Get out. You still have questions, and that's okay because there are still answers. So, I mean, when let's just to look at the film. When you are writing the film, and then you see The Mandalorian come out, and I remember early on you talking to me about it and going, "I've got this idea, and it's about this thing, and it's a package." And then, The Mandalorian came out, and the whole first bit was about this package. The package happened to be a baby Yoda.
Yeah. Look, give credit where it's due. The Grogu is a stroke of genius. So while what we wrote and the idea we had were very similar, we did not think of something as masterful and as goddamn adorable as Grogu. So that is that was lightning in the bottle for them. I think they took a risk where they were like, oh, we could, the fans could turn on us, or this could really pay off, and it's really paid off. And and
Just
that
a little
story
bit.
is still, is still evolving. So, but yeah, we didn't have that, but we did have our cargo wasn't a complete MacGuffin. It wasn't just this thing that we're like, oh, they're all fighting over it. It's the briefcase from Pulp Fiction. We don't know what's in it. That's not the point. It
I
wasn't
was going to say,
anything
do
like
you know
that.
what's in it though?
Yes, we do. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
right.
That we have had to do several rewrites and changes because of the eerie similarities we've had with Mando. Each episode, the whole crew. Just to let you know, when the first episode, we were still in post production. When the first episode of season 1 Mando hit, I got a message from my composer who was based in LA at the time, Jaden, who did the amazing original musical score for Blaster. He messaged me straight away and went, Richard, what the hell? It's like it's like, does Disney have your phone tapped? How this is too similar. Some of these shots are too similar. The tone and everything we were going for that we had in development for so long. And that was just one of the things that, again, I had a feeling once Mandalorian was announced and that it wasn't Boba Fett, but it was still this kind of Mandalorian bounty hunter, and it was very much a space western. As soon as they were pitching that, that's when we all started getting a little nervous. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just little humble indie filmmakers that only dream that our little fan film will get watched and appreciated. But the last thing we want is to come off like this, what we were doing wasn't completely original, that we were ripping off something else. Or we just were able to, we had our finger on the pulse. We were just able to tap into that zeitgeist and go, we were doing something right. So one of the biggest changes that we did was, and I, again, shit you not, the Razor Crest.
Right.
That Dylan and I sat and we were designing the concept for Syric's ship that opens up Blaster, right? Bang, comes out of hyperspace. It just sets up the whole thing. We were looking at certain designs and everything. I have it on paper, drawn on pencil. It looks very eerily similar to the Razor Crest. It had the two engines on the side, the main body of it, and basically Dylan's inspiration, I think, was it was a cross between two kind of animals, which was this whale kind of shape. And so we were looking at whales for inspiration. That had this streamline, but it had this body and weight to it. So we were drawing off that, and then we put these two big engines to it. It looked way too close to the Razor Crest. And so once we saw that in the first trailer, we went, oh God, we were just about to actually make this we were about to kit bash it. We're about to make this in 3D practical model.
Well, okay, well that's an interesting point, because not in the trailer that we're looking at the moment, but in one of the other trailer we looked at, you can very definitely see that these are real models. So what was the go with that? Why that?
I love practical models. So for me, when you're doing special effects, again, coming from an independent position, we're not ILM. You know what I mean? We don't have the computer power or these large teams, or even the rendering time, to output these kind of high quality VFX. And also we're looking at a turnaround time. And at the time, we only had one VFX artist, who was our amazing Ryan Stubbs, who was our VFX supervisor and artist. In post-production, he finally got this little team of support simply because people saw our first trailer and put their hand up and went, oh, I'd love to help out. And we were like, oh, actually, send us your reel. And if you wouldn't mind helping out Ryan with some of the VFX shots, because it just became a lot for him. I mean, you'd look at one shot, which will be only a couple of frames, and this would take him, if not 1 day, 2 days to render. All that adds to the post-production time, and it's all on his back.
So there we can see the actual model itself. and that's
Yeah, there we
physically
go.
built by someone.
Yeah, how it started was we have a lot of the models built and they're kit bashed. So Nathan Pye, who plays the Captain Ty, one of the crashed Imperial officers in the film, he was also our chief model maker because he's just got this great talent of kit bashing, and that's the thing. I come from this area of filmmaking where just to keep it practical as much as
Yeah.
possible. And I really think that if you want to sell VFX, keep it practical as much as you can, and then have the CG and the technology come in to support it. They go hand in hand beautifully, and especially on a low budget, you can get away with a lot of things because it adds this realistic charm to it. So as you can see there, she's actually not holding them. So Kirsty was actually miming that whole movement. She didn't have the drones in her hand, but the drones that were actually animated were all animated practically in front of green screen, and then Ryan comped it all into a shot. And stuff like this here, we had our original first pass at this shot where Jakar kicks the door down. That was actually originally in a CG like matte painting, it was a CG render of an interior of the ship. It did not sell. And how I did that is being the nerd. This is where being a toy collector comes in handy. I was trying to look at shortcuts because, again, we were low on budget, on time, and money. And I have oh, I should have had it here for show and tell. I've got a little troop carrier, Star Wars troop carrier from Hasbro. You open this thing up and you shoot, and if you could get the camera and you shoot, down the corridor of it, you got yourself an interior of an Imperial shuttle. So that was just like a little kind of, just having the right eye and just angling and going, if I could get a camera small enough and I shoot it just right, and I composed the shot, because that was always going to be my little throwback. Doing a Western, you got to have all these little, nods to certain things. So that was my nod to The Searchers with John Wayne, the classic, doorway silhouette. And
Nice.
that was my throwback, not The Mandalorian. It was John Wayne, The Searchers, because if you do a Western, you always need a shot like that. And then we watch episode 1 and Mando kicks down the door with an IG-88, and it's so similar in terms of its framing from what we did in that shot that we couldn't help but laugh. So, great
God damn
minds, I
it.
guess.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, that means you're on the right path. That's the thing. When
Yeah.
if you're doing things that the best people in the world are doing, then maybe you're doing the right stuff. And I mean, there's a lot to be said for the theory of the collective unconsciousness, and
Yeah.
that maybe, as somebody else in the said, Predakango said before, this was an idea whose time had come. So
Look,
and
absolutely. I got to agree with that comment as well. And that's the thing, because it's very easy that you come up with that idea, but you never act on it. We're all guilty of stuff like that, and that was just it for us. It was really the proof in the pudding. It's not easy what we do. Filmmaking in general is not easy. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of damn hard work as well. So yeah, it was just one of those things that it just felt like, and there were many times on this production, more than any other production I've ever had. Every other production we've been rather smooth. This one was our most ambitious, and it was the one that had all these little unprecedented challenges that would pop up to a point where we were
okay, well,
definitely
what sort of challenges are we facing? Because I mean, you've got some amazing special effects makeup in there. You've got some big fight sequences and so forth. I thought, you know what, I'm going to stop the film there just so that we don't watch the whole thing, because I know Rob in the chat has not seen it all yet.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't want him to watch the whole thing
it
without sound.
Yeah. We've got to be careful what to spoil as well, because there's a couple of little surprises.
Exactly. I like the idea of accidentally showing something and it not having the music, it not having the whole feel
Look,
would be criminal. So, let's not do that.
no, but on that point, I will say it's interesting when you're so close to something, right? Especially, and you as well, Quinny, being an actor as well, you can attest to this as well. Is that you're so close to things, the surprise and certain reactions, you could be proud of it, but there's nothing like experiencing it for the first time. And sometimes you don't know how the audience is going to receive that. And there's certain surprises in Blaster where, I would sit there and I'm like, the intention is to kind of throw people back into their seat. Obviously, to enjoy it and engage and have fun with it, but there are moments where it's meant to throw you back a little bit. And sometimes where I feel like, well, it's kind of predictable, but that's not a bad thing. It's meant to be kind of fun, right? But it's amazing that some people were like, I did not see that coming. I'm like, really? We were breadcrumbing it the whole time.
Yeah, like
we were
we're not
sort of
looking around
teasing
here.
it. It's like, how else did you think that was going to go? But that is great. It is great because it just makes us like the job that we do. It makes it all that more rewarding.
If people are surprised by it, that's amazing. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Rob in the chat is asking, where can I watch it? YouTube. There's a link there. I've put it there. That's going to be very difficult to copy and paste from. So I would also suggest if you just go straight to YouTube and you type in A Blaster in the Right Hands, you can check it out and watch it there. Now, it only came out on YouTube on May 30th. Is that right?
Last week. So, I mean, we've been teasing this thing for so long that a lot of people that follow our channel on Lunacraft have all been excited, and this have been a mixture of people that are, between movie buffs, people within the film industry, and also Star Wars fans. But I think a lot of people never thought it was going to come out. Or what exactly, the kind of quality, what they were going to get. But the only thing that if they followed our channels, what they saw is how film festivals were eating this up. And
well, how many awards have you actually won now? Like, because you've got a lot of little laurels around you.
Yeah, we just got another festival in the other. I've gotten to a point where I'm finding it a little. There's been a lot of sleepless nights. Let me just say that. So it's gotten to a point where I've kind of lost track a little bit. But we've definitely been. We've had over 10 nominations.
Right.
We've won, I think, 5 awards, I believe. But we've hit over a ridiculous amount of official selections. And the thing is, when you do film festivals, for people that don't know, that are listening and everything, when you make a film, whether it is a feature film or a short film, when you kind of do your film festival junket, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. It's only natural. And if you average 50-50, you're doing well. And especially if you go over a little bit. And that's with good, festivals with a decent reputation as well. So you got to do your research. You got to make sure you're entering in a good film. What should I say?
A festival that is right for the kind of film that you're.
Yes, and also you just got to be careful with the frauds as well. And it's very easy.
Right.
A couple of pointers for film festivals is you look at how many years they've been operating and look at the quality of not only the judges that they have on there. If they do have a panel, some of them don't have a panel, that's fine. But look at the quality of work that they actually select, because that actually is the platform you're reaching. And that's just it, because in this day and age, now there's a lot of film festivals that are monthly film festivals, and they're good too. At the end of the day, it's all about increasing your audience and getting your films out there and getting that audience. But for us, we made a fan film, And there have been a lot of film festivals that do support and screen fan films. But the most amazing thing have been these other film festivals that are genre festivals, and also sci-fi film festivals. And you've got this fan film, and you're also competing with these original screenplays, these original ideas. And I'm talking about high standard of work by these amazing filmmakers worldwide. And amazingly, Blaster has been on this official selection streak. We have never had that with any of our productions, and we've been proud of everything we've done. But for something like this to kind of gain that attention, and also speaking with a lot of these festival directors and their panels, and them actually being genuine fans of the quality of the work that we've done, that has been incredibly humbling for all of us. And that's just it. And then finally it came to the time where we were like, you know what? May is the official Star Wars month, and I just thought, and I spoke to my team, and I just thought, you know what? Let's end Star Wars month. Let's release the film on YouTube on May 31st. And since then, it's just blown up. We're I don't know if we were close. Last time I checked, we were 3.9 views.
You are now 4,028.
Well, jeez, there you go.
Yeah,
so,
congratulations, 4,000 views.
in a week, So that's it. And like, we started with 5 subscribers to our channel, and now we're over 100, I think, or something.
Wow. Yeah, which is great. So, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's been incredibly humbling. So it's been amazing.
That's brilliant, man, and I'm so happy for you, because it is something that I love seeing. I love seeing people who are passionate about it going, I want to make this, I want to tell a story, and then surrounding themselves with the people who are also passionate about it, who say, yes, I'm going to give my time, I'm going to give my energy. You've got some amazing actors in there. Actually, just talk to your actors just for a little bit. What was your casting process like?
Well, with Ben playing, it was very easy. I've worked with Ben before. We've got a great collaboration and a great friendship there. And it was just one of those things that, I mean, he's a class act, Ben, and he's a real raw talent as well. But one of the things was, I mean, both him and I share this affinity for Westerns, just the Western genre.
Right.
And so we I think early on would always talk about doing a Western, and we'd, spitball a couple of ideas and everything like that. And then when Blaster came about, I was like, I think I just sent him a message going, "Do you like Star Wars, Ben?"
Would you like to?
Yeah, it was like, well, so it's kind of a Western. It's a space Western, and obviously he likes Star Wars. I don't know if I'd say he's like a diehard fan, like the way that I am, or anything like that. But he really enjoys Star Wars. He loves it. He gets it. He understands, all the references and everything. So he was just rapt about the whole process. And one of the qualities, other than him being a great talent, was his eyes. He's got these really nice kind of striking blue eyes, and immediately it throws back, and I start thinking of the Sergio Leone extreme close-ups. And I just think about Clint Eastwood's eyes, and Fonda from Once Upon a Time in the West, which is one of my favorite films of all time. And every time you open up on Fonda's eyes, it's just so striking. And that was one of the things. It was just like he had the look. There was no doubt about he'd be a great protagonist or anti-hero, but it was like really getting that stare down pat. That was so important. That would say a lot. So that was it. Then it was Kirsty, and Kirsty, we originally had another actress way in the very first attempt when we tried to make a blaster. But once we cast Ben, we needed someone that was able to go to toe with him. So it ended up being this thing where you start looking at casting as in an ensemble, and looking at how they would look on screen and would be adversaries almost.
Right.
And Kirsty was a chance encounter, but this was over social media. I came across her acting showreel, and I thought she was just amazing in these highlights. And she had a certain presence about her. And then I saw some of her modeling work that she did in the past, and again, this physical presence now. And that then I started chatting with her, and she shared this one modeling photo where I think she was in the Northern Territory, and she's just like hunched over. She just looked really cool on like this edge of a cliff. And then I just imagined this long kind of rifle in her hand, and I went, "Oh my God, that's Sirik! I've got to talk to her." That was it, because she had a killer kind of show reel. And then when I saw that one photo, I just went, "Yeah, that was it." If she says no, we'll just move on. But she just jumped at the chance, and it was great, to the point that was hilarious, because when I did my research. And she plays a Pantoran, and the Pantorans,
who are the Pantorans? Because they've shown up recently.
They have in the Bad Batch. So the Pantorans showed up. Their first appearance was in Revenge of the Sith, so episode 3, where it was played by George Lucas and his daughter, and they're like, blink and you'll miss it, because they're senators, and they're just these blue-skinned senators in a hallway. And since then they were adapted into a couple of episodes in early Clone Wars, where again there were these senators from Pantora that would come in, but they spoke with distinct South African accents, and so
I'd missed that. I hadn't picked up on that, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So that was it. So when they had that kind of accent, and it was like, and when I decided to make Sirik a Pantoran, and it was through an aesthetic choice, but also an interesting choice as well. And when you learn more about their culture, to actually have one that is this kind of ruthless, Pantoran. But more on that later, I guess. But in terms of the casting, it was interesting when we're sitting there doing our table read, and everyone read their lines, and I was getting there all excited, and it was like, all right, let's do accents now. And then I went to Kirsty, and I was like, Kirsty, do you think you can do a South African accent? She just looked at me like dead in the eye like this, and she was just like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. And she was just like, I grew up in South Africa, and I've worked for so long to lose my accent, and you're asking me to bring it back. And we just had this hilarious laugh. And then we did the table read, and her South African accent came out, which is the Afrikaans, came out, and it was amazing. And it just breathed this new life into this character and everything. And that's it. It was just one of those moments that you hear on a lot of productions where the right kind of actor comes in. You take a chance on someone, or you cast someone, and they come in, and whether it's from the table read or you're on set, and then they're just that living, breathing character off the page. And that's how it was. So that's mainly the big two kind of casting choices, how they came across. Everything else was through our network. Brendan Byrne, who plays Commander Byrne. I was really being original there with the names.
You really went out on a limb with that name, wasn't it?
They just had good names already. It was like, Byrne, we just make it Star Warsy. But he was an actor that I've worked with again on previous productions, and we were always looking for another collaboration. And it was something that, again, he's never quite done a role like this before, and then he was excited by it. it was Nathan who played Captain, who was our chief model maker. He was just a hardcore Star Wars fan, and he does a killer Emperor Palpatine impression. And I was like, look, you're not going to be Palpatine in this, but how about playing, this, Imperial officer that's, just losing his shit in the scene, and you're at your wit's end. And that was fun, and that was his first time performing as well.
Oh, wow.
So he's never acted before, and I absolutely loved seeing him in the scene and how
So
much
just-
fun it was. So.
And at the moment, on the screen, we've got a bunch of stuff from some of the makeup and effects. So, who are they? Who did the effects work for you?
Yeah, so amazingly, this is Odd Studio. So Odd Studio came to our rescue when our original makeup artist wasn't able to commit to the length of the production and what was required. And we were already well into pre-production, and we were almost a few weeks away from I guess shooting. I think. And we lost our makeup makeup artist. I think we were a month or two away from shooting. I can't remember. It was a while ago. But yeah, we desperately needed to do this. I mean, we had our lead characters were alien characters. That's how it was. That was the hook of the whole thing. At one point, we were just like, Rich, what if you just not make them alien? And while you're at it, let's just not. I don't know. Maybe do a Star Wars film. Let's just do a Western.
Let's just do like a little kitchen sink drama.
Yeah. So it was like it was defeating the whole purpose of going on this journey to do this kind of story. George Lucas created this wonderful sandbox that has so many corners of this galaxy to explore, and we set on this journey to kind of do that. So it was important for us to have these characters also because the Jakar is a Twi'lek, Ryloth. There's a lot of subtext and a lot of background story there that we refer to and we hint at as incredibly important to the underlying story that we're saying here up against the whole action set piece. So it was important. It was very important that we had these characters and that we wouldn't change them. So when Odd Studio came in, that was incredibly fortunate, and in a lot of ways we couldn't. Now looking back, we don't know how we could have done this without their support because they were able to wedge us in between two
wedge.
Big,
get it?
Yeah. Between much larger productions at the time. I mean, it's safe to say now, but at the time they were just working on Invisible Man.
Right.
So and in the corner of their studio, they're kind of doing.
Hang on, there were no special effects for the Invisible Man, like
the suit.
Oh, the suit. Come on, he's invisible. Like that would have been the easiest goddamn job in the world.
Yeah.
That's not something you put on your resume.
It was an easy gig for him. Gig for him.
Yeah. Should rock up to set. What are you doing? Nothing today.
I'm getting paid for this. He's standing right there. It's right there. You see it? It's here. What do you think? How about this angle?
We are so good. Give us an Oscar now.
Like amazingly, it was they're local heroes of mine. That's the other thing that's so surreal. The Mad Max Fury Road is one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm a huge Mad Max fan. And the fact that they're Sydney based and around the corner, virtually at the time they were around the corner from where I was staying. That's great, and then you're working with heroes on this little kind of epic that you made, and there they are complimenting on your kind of designs and evolving it as well. Which is awesome. It was a dream. Yeah, it was an absolute dream. So and we've made really great kind of friendships with them as well. It's just that this whole process has been this topsy-turvy kind of journey, but it's been amazing to come out to see the relationships that we've gained and the experience as well. And because when we went into this, we very well knew exactly what we were doing, so
Yeah.
it was just one of those things of just actually doing it, and just trucking just through everything.
Right. Now, look, we've had a bunch of people in the chat who have been wonderful and have asked, a bunch of questions in the chat. But I would like to now put the link into the chat. So if you would like to come on stream and you have questions for Richard, click on that link and bring yourself in there. And I know that at least for a brief period of time there, we actually had Scott, and I'm pretty sure we may have had Dylan in the chat who were throwing a little bit of shade. So if you guys feel like joining in and having a bit of a chat about it, you are more than welcome to.
That's famous last words there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I may regret this. There is a distinct possibility. But you know what? We'll give it a go. Whatever. The worst things can happen. Also, thank you so much for all of the awesome visuals that we've had running in the background. So this will go out as an audio podcast. But there's Scott. Scott is now waving, saying hello. But yeah, the video of this has got some really great stuff in it. So there's obviously the trailers that we've been playing in the background, but also all of these production stills, which are a lot of fun. So Scott's asking the question, do you model your hair off George Lucas? Now, you could ask him that in person by clicking on that StreamYard link.
Yeah.
But
like Scott's got this thing of always comparing me to George Lucas, and it's freaking me out. Because I've got another friend that I've got a couple of friends. Scott calls me George Lucas. I've got another friend who's a cinematographer who calls me Orson Welles, and then I've got another friend who calls me Jack Black. So I think I'm like a fusion of all these kind of things, and I feel like I'm coming out like some bizarre Rick and Morty character now.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate, weird conglomerate of things that, and I hate to tell you this, but none of them are that attractive. And I think that's perhaps what we're missing here is the essential attraction and sexiness that is Richard. Because like if anyone were to say, oh, Orson Welles, I'd be like, really? Cool, thanks. In July, peas grow there. Which was a long-term subject for this podcast a while ago. To anyone that is also wanting to join it, apparently everyone has forgotten how to use StreamYard, and that's fine. So I will just continue this conversation. And there was a question I wanted to ask. Where did I put that? Okay, that's it. What aspect of the film are you the most proud of? And, I also am interested. We were talking a bit before about crowdfunding and so forth. Is how do you get the money to make a film like this, or is it just a lot of credit card debt?
Yeah, credit card debt. When we set out to make this, obviously, again, third time was a charm, because the first two times we tried to go down the route of private investment. And I kind of felt a little like Lando Calrissian, where it was just like, this deal keeps getting worse every time, and to the point where it just felt like it wasn't going to happen, so we just shelved it. So what you find a lot in this industry is a lot of people that are interested in your ideas, but they don't really move forward with it, and you just got to get out there and make it. That was it. And then there was a lot of like reaching out to the fan communities out there, and rightfully so. They didn't know us from a bar of soap, so it was like, who are you guys? What are you making a fan film? I've got like this costume that's worth thousands of dollars, and I'm going to come in your fan film and you're going to ding it, you're going to ruin it or something. I don't know who you are. Yeah, look, I understand the whole paranoia. There was a lot of there was some cynical kind of attitudes as well. So I completely understood all that, and it was hard to really ask for these favors and everything. So unless you've worked with them before, which we have in the end. So by the time we got around to this third pass, we actually had a solid crew there that we knew, and we were confident that we could make this, but it was still going to cost us money, and that money came from myself and our producer Carol. So without Carol, this movie couldn't have gotten made. She was really the real force
Okay.
on
God, dude, no.
getting this made.
Terrible. That is terrible. Now we do have a couple of people who have joined the stream. First of all, we've got Rob. How you doing, Rob, buddy?
Good, thank you. How are we tonight?
Hi, Rob.
We're kicking ass and taking names. Do you
Yes.
have any questions at all for our man, Rich?
Well, it sounds like, I mean, I've yet to watch the film, and I'll be doing so later tonight. But it sounds like, the film's already copped a bit of success so far. Are you now getting Star Wars fans coming with you saying, "Oh, here's my idea for a fan film"?
Oh, look, not really pitching to us, but we've had a couple of people that have been, I guess, inspired in some way, where they're like, they love the film and everything, and then they'd subtly kind of pitch their own idea, and unto which you'd always go, you'd wish them the best, and you do.
Yep.
Like, I genuinely want people to go out there and do it, if anything, just for the experience, because hopefully that they could reflect on themselves a little bit when they see something that they don't like. And if you've made a movie, you know how hard it is. So maybe your critique could be a bit, I don't know, less, somewhat reserved or something. Having an understanding and critiquing something for, the actual merits of the film, whether it's bad writing, acknowledging what bad writing is, production values, performances, all that kind of thing. Because it's very easy to sit back and watch something. You're sitting there watching something that's, whether it's 5 minutes to half an hour to a 2-hour film. These films take a long time. Blaster was about a year and a half, 2 years in the in the making in terms of production. If you want me to tell you how long it's been kind of bashing around my head, I'd say since high school, which is a very, very long time ago.
Yeah, not at all. We've also got Missy here. Missy, how you doing? Missy is not hearing me. No. Okay. I will write it to her. I like that you're just looking at me with the dead eyes of like, what? But yeah, so with something like this, you can't crowdfund it, can you? Like or can you get money like for the sequel? Let's say that there's a blaster in the left hand.
No, the sequel. So, I don't want to ruin it for Rob and other people out there, but yeah. So I'll just say that the sequel, which was the original story that I always wanted to make, is called The Black Bounty. Now, in terms of crowdfunding and everything, that is something we're definitely going to look into. We did consider it, obviously, when we were doing Blaster, but I mean, this is where things get really sticky when you're asking for money, or if there's any way that it can be conceived as profiteering. As soon as you start making a buck from a fan film, depending on how much you make, you're going to attract attention from the studio. And you don't want that. You want the good, positive, attention from the studio. And the dream would be something that happened back in the day, like when the guy, I forget his name, but made Troops, which was, I think, one of the earliest, if not
Kevin
the
Rubio.
first fan film. Yeah, who went off and ended up working at Lucasfilm because he did such a good job, and they were able to actually see the talent behind everything. So when you do this, you're making something that is a fan film, but also you should be doing it where you can do it as just a fan film and do it with your mates, and it's fine, But in our case, we were doing it also to showcase our talents of the local community as well, that we're not just fans, but we're serious storytellers and filmmakers. But when it comes to the crowdfunding, you've got to be really careful, and there's a few ways about it and everything. But for us, again, whether it was we were going to do a Kickstarter, we knew we didn't have a strong enough product in just ourselves. We haven't really done anything to this level of ambition of production in terms of scale and everything. We haven't really done something as successful as we have. We've done things that have been successful in other areas, you know what I mean, in certain festivals. But if you're looking at viewership, nothing like what we've done.
Yeah.
So to whether we were asking for favors or we'd do a Kickstarter and we'd pitch and we'd have amazing kind of, props or artwork to say, this is what it'll look like with your help and everything. There's nothing before that to show that these guys can actually make that. So we knew that Carol and I would actually be it'd be all on our backs to see it through and out of our pockets as well to get it made. And now that we've actually made something that with the support there, and only with the support, and having that kind of voice of fans and just people in general, that want to see what we do next, especially with a potential sequel, we can only do that with the support. So in the light of the festivals, the success of the festivals, and the past couple of weeks, there's such demand and positive feedback from all this that we're definitely we're actually in development. We're going back and making sure that's too much like season 2 Mandalorian. Let's rewrite that. Forget about that.
Well,
so
I was going to ask, have you had to throw out any ideas for your sequel because of already what's been seen on Mandalorian and Bad Batch? Have you sat there thinking, oh, hang on a minute, I've seen this. All right, that's in my script. Can't do that anymore.
Yep. Well, with Bad Batch, we've been pretty good, mainly because they're in different timelines. So Bad Batch is following a specific storyline there, which has been really exciting to see. There was this one instance where I think it was in the last week's episode, or maybe the episode the week before it, where Hunter was fighting. Is it Fennec, which is the bounty hunter character?
And he was it last week or week before? Yeah,
the week before. Yeah, he
Bad
pulls
Batch.
out. The Bad Batch. Yeah, he pulls out a dagger, and they go hand-to-hand fight. And if you watch the blaster trailer, I'm sitting there going, what is happening? It's happening again. so it's been a case of that, but fortunately they're quite different. It's not two cases, and at least for us, it was like, well, we released Blaster before that episode, so we win this time. We win this round. So so it's been an eerie thing, but in terms of the script with Black Bounty and seeing what they've done, I mean, we were just wrapping post-production where Jeremy Bulloch passed away, and so Justin Wood, who was doing our end credits, I gave him a quick note just to do in loving memory to Jeremy Bulloch. I have, if you follow my feeds on social, I have when I was a kid, I met Jeremy Bulloch, and he signed a Boba Fett photo that I have framed. And so I've always been a huge Boba Fett fan. So when he passed away, it only felt natural that we're doing a Boba Fett fan film and doing a storyline it was at the right time that we're able to just kind of acknowledge him in a nice little memoriam kind of way. and obviously then we then decided to do, you know what, let's do a Boba Fett will return the Black Bounty. And if this whole film and project goes down in flames, I'll do a digital comic and release it online just so I get it out of my system. But
Now,
at the moment it's all
Rich,
looking
I'm just
positive,
I'm gonna
so-
interrupt you because I just need to check. I think Missy is actually a little bit behind.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I'm actually here now. No.
Oh, okay, right. I wasn't sure whether you were up to speed or not.
Yeah, I was watching the wrong channel and I
Oh.
accidentally subbed out of this one and got into another one. Rich, I have so many questions about Blaster.
Yep.
So most of them did get through on chat, and I'm very, very thankful that you addressed them.
Yep.
But I really wanted to point out from my personal perspective, the sound editing and also the score were sublime. Like absolutely, whoever you got doing that shiz was fantastic. Both
Thank
episodes
you.
really struck out for me. And I was like edge of my seat. And then like the final reveal, I know some people who are listening right now have not seen it. And then
the person
you know
who is
what I'm
right
talking
next to you in
about.
the visuals.
Yeah.
Like
It's
Rob
the-
right there is just going, no.
guys. Yeah. So you know what I know, which is basically.
Look, if you drop
that was
spoilers, I'm not going to
amazing.
be angry. It's my
That
own
was
fault.
amazing. Yeah, it totally is. Like Quinny put it up earlier on in the day, and that was the link that got me to watch it. I know that Rich, you had put me onto that earlier, and for mental health reasons, I hadn't watched it. But when TPTOA put it out today, saying, "Oh, we're gonna talk about this film," that was the link that I watched it through. So kudos, Quinny.
Hey.
Thank you very much. But Rich,
That's what we're here for.
I did not see that coming, and then when it happened, I was like, "Boom shakalaka!" That was so good. It was so good, and so a lot of the things that you were talking about, particularly with the Mandalorian, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that." Firstly, you'd been in pre-production for so long, and that you like the reason why they'd managed to get through 2 seasons, and you're sitting there going, "Oh, you're doing my shit." Like I get it now. I absolutely get it now. But also, like, regardless of what Mando did, like your film was still suddenly like, yes, baby. It was so good, and I really enjoyed it, and I had such a good time with it. And like I said, so sound editing, the score, and then choreography. And I really want to talk about that right now. The choreography of your film. Please talk about that with me.
Okay, so let's go. Easiest one to talk about. Editing is me. So when I direct, I direct in this old school mentality. So digital filmmaking, you're on cards, right? You could keep shooting and filling all these cards and everything. I shoot with the mentality of like we're shooting on film, so we just shoot what we need, even if you're in the spur of the moment and you're working with actors, and actors are just in that zone, and then all of a sudden they'll do something in a particular take, and you're like, oh my god, what was that? Yeah, do that again. And then you work and collaborate. You're still shooting, and you're working towards a schedule and a shot list and everything. But that's it's the shot list, right? You work to that shot list. You don't just start going, oh, I want coverage, and you keep shooting and everything. It's like, so for me, it's like when I'm working on a script, I'm seeing the film from beginning to end. So what you see in Blaster is pretty much 90 to 95% what was planned. So there are compromises in certain areas. Technical things like I wish I had a 16-foot dolly track or something ridiculous, for a specific shot. So there are compromises because of budget restraints, but what you're seeing in terms of the visual storytelling, the direction, with the choreography, which we'll come back to, there were certain instances where I would have preferred not to cut, and just have it more as not the whole fight scene in one take, just certain parts of the choreography to just have a certain type of energy and just be all in one kind of cut, one take.
Honestly, like half the movie was action. I was watching it going, this is like whoever was choreographing it, and again, you'll get to that in a minute. It was like the shots and the way that you did it. It was simply like even in my face, amazing fight scene.
So if we go into the choreography, the choreography was all done by Igor Breakenback, who has he's a stunt performer and also an action fight choreographer based in Bondi. I've worked with him before. He also has an MMA gym called Igor MMA based in Bondi. He's one of the loveliest guys that I've met. I've worked with him on previous productions and got along really well with him. And he's a huge Jackie Chan fan, of course, as you wouldn't be. But so the whole instance is that we're doing a fan film. It's Star Wars. You know that there's going to be a fight and a battle in it. But the way I pitched it to him is that the fight scene isn't just a fight for the sake of it. It is both drama. So the fight basically physically says a narrative, has a narrative, but also it's a dance, right? So this is like two people, who's leading who, and that's just it. So it needs a certain flow and an energy to it. Jakar is basically my Rocky Balboa. Right, so that's the thing. That's the appealing. When you write a hero, at least when we do it, and what I find appealing are flawed heroes. That makes them human, right? So this is a guy that is constantly struggling. He is fighting for a reason, which may or may not be clear, but it's something that is worth a lot more to him than just credits. Right, so
and this is the thing. Like, I don't want to spoil it for Rob, but I really felt that the way that you gave the choreography to, I guess, the second antagonist versus the third and then the fourth, they each had a different goal. So the second antagonist was absolutely defending the cargo, yet the third was like, bitch, I want a payday, and then the etc. But exactly, that was really quite evident, and I very much love that it was like this thing that is on the ground that no one's been able to touch, and you have the troopers and the assholes at first.
And
it was so good. It was so good.
Here's the thing. Thank you. So here's the thing. The characters, the way that they fight, the way that the choreography is, it's all character driven. I'm a huge a believer in all my films. I believe first and foremost character-driven stories, right? And even in something like this that is so action-orientated, I believed very much in doing, that when Jakar fights, it's a particular has a particular rhythm and tone. The way that Cyric fights is the same. So when Jakar fights, there's passion there and there's desperation there. He's the only person in the film that knows what's in the cargo. Exactly.
It was
where
so
where she doesn't, right? And there's a sadistic nature and almost cat quality. There's my favorite. Exactly. There's this my favorite moment of Cyric, which Kirsty played beautifully, was where Jakar's over on the other side of the cargo, and she's just walking back and forward, just kind of like taunting him almost. But she's figured she's figured him out perfectly. She knows who he is, and she's really prodding him. And that's just it. So the way I kind of the direction and what I played with Kirsty in that scene was basically she's just this cat. So she's quite cat-like. So, and when you look at kind of like cats and the way that they move, And prowling, especially when you go to the zoo and you see a tiger on the other side, and they're locking in, but they're walking the way that they do, and they're studying
Dude, if
you,
she'd
you know.
had a
So
title, I wouldn't have been surprised.
yeah, so that was it, and she was able to just nail it perfectly, and so as the fight progresses, you start revealing more about both of them until I really love also in the other moment about roughly halfway through the scene where Jakar pleads with Sirik, almost plead, quotation marks here, and you see in her expression, and this is the thing where show don't tell, the classic great way of directing and visual storytelling. You can see Sirik in the expression in her face where her veil drops a little bit. She starts to drop that little shield because she's starting to almost there's a little bit of empathy or sympathy coming through. There's something
I
harking
think
back
it
to her
like
own background. Until then,
for
obviously, she
me
catches
when
the
I saw well for me when I saw that scene, it was like whatever's there means something to you, and she caught on for a second, and then she was like, I don't care, I need my money.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It was a second.
Sirik is a character who is someone where it's so hard not to spoil things. But Sirik is very much a Sirik is very much an independent agent. She is very untrustworthy. Therefore, she doesn't work with any guilds. She's her own own agent. So she doesn't work with any guilds. She doesn't work with any empire. Whoever's the highest bidder, she works for herself. That's it.
But that's very
and then
Mando.
obviously,
I want to throw back to what you were saying about when the Mandalorian came out and you were like, oh shit, they took our stuff. Mando was very much the same in this you had the things, and it was like Mando
the
had
droids,
it as well. And it was like, so when you were describing that earlier, it was like, oh, I get it. But see, I'm not somebody who understands the pre-production time and whatever. So for me, I'm like, oh, I've been watching you releasing the film for the last 6 months going, that's great. Mando's done 2 seasons, and I'm like, oh, I'm a pleb. I don't know what's going on. I didn't realize until this interview, and Quinny, thank you very much for setting this up, where this all the stuff that was important to you and important to the story was set up years ago, before Mando came out and all this type of stuff. So I guess I really
it just comes down to it just comes down to money, like time and money, and finding the right kind of people. Like this is the epitome. A fan film is the epitome of a passion project. I've said in a couple of podcasts and interviews where people would go, oh, are you getting paid to do this? And I'm like, I am currently developing projects to seek funding. I come from what many filmmakers do, where they do short films, and I don't know short films to make money. Short films are basically your business card for you and your collaborators, right? So they're for your show reels, they're everything. They're there, you're passionate about it, you're taking your job and your craft seriously, but you want to get seen, you want to get noticed, but for the right reasons.
Films, are you even allowed to make money on Star Wars fan films?
No.
I thought that was like the no-go. So you've had a very wait, that's a word.
Yeah, it is.
You've had a really fantastic fan film come out. And so you're not allowed to cash in on that, which we all know is how it sort of happens. So are you allowed to have that on your show reel, in
absolutely,
investors for your next stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm not out here making Jakar and Sirik action figures, as much as I'd love that. I'm not making. Yeah, I'm not selling the film. At Super, we'll be at Sydney Supernova to meet the fans, to engage with, and and we've got little posters just to give away. A lot of it is giving back
as a matter
to
of
the
interest.
fans.
Rich, what other stuff might you have there? Like, is there a possibility that we'll be able to check out some of the costumes or set
Yeah.
or props or
Yes.
anything like that?
That would be amazing.
Well, we do. So Supernova have been really supportive and gracious enough to give us a table there, and so we'll be set up across that weekend. And the brilliant thing is that not only will we be setting up base there, but we'll be able to being Sydney and the fact that we are Sydney based, we're able to bring the
Of
props that we
course.
made. Yeah,
Oh
because
my
like
God.
we're at Melbourne. We'll be later in the year. We'll be going to Brisbane and Adelaide. Unfortunately, sorry to anyone in Perth, we can't make it to Perth. But
That's
Sydney
right.
is the
Apparently,
only.
Western Australia doesn't want you.
Let's be honest, Western Australia doesn't want anyone.
Yeah, border
Oh,
control. They don't want anyone. Yeah.
oh dear.
But for years they've been asking why not Perth, and now they're like, no, you can't come here. It's like, this is why. This is why.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Sydney is the only place where we're able. I say not that we want to. We wish we can do this everywhere, but we're able to bring the props that we have, and hopefully we'll be able to bring. I think there's plans on bringing Jakar's costume that was made by Jesse, our costume designer Jesse
Nice.
Love. So
Nice.
we will
Nice.
we will have stuff there to share and show. So yeah, we'll have everything from props to the models. Everyone will be able to see Siric's ship on display. And what's
Wow.
interesting is actually while we're on that note as well, what's interesting is when we were actually making the props and everything, the only thing that was 3D printed was the Sirix probe droids. So that was the only thing that was 3D printed, and we were lucky to get that made. And at the time, there weren't many 3D printers. This is how crazy technology, at least commercial
That's so
technology.
old.
Yeah. So that's it. In the space of a year or a year and a half, when we were kind of doing our post-production and everything, pre-production, when we were actually getting this made, one of our VFX artists, LJ, he took my designs, did a CG model of the probe droid, and then we gave it to Carol's brother, who had a 3D printer that he was just playing around with. But then we were thinking
cool.
about larger things to do and make, but there weren't many people that had printers, especially the ones that we were after.
Was the ship at the beginning a 3D model, or was that CGI?
No, that was okay. Here's a good spoiler. So that was our little nod to the old ILM before there were ILM in Star Wars, where they coined the term kit bashing, and they would take various models and create beautiful works of art. What we did is the foundation. Yeah, so the foundation of that, we had a design. So once I had a design, I spoke with Nathan and I spoke with Dylan about how to adapt this and how are we going to make it, how are we going to kit bash it, what parts do we need to look for from other figures or toys or home appliances, whatever. We knew the size. We needed it at a certain size, so that's what we worked towards. And Nathan just came from a trip at Kmart and found a budget Nerf gun. and we looked at the Nerf gun and we studied it. It was like, right, cut the handle off. We cut this part. We got that's the body
Richard,
of the ship.
What make and model? I need to know what make of Nerf gun was it?
I think it was like a knockoff Nerf gun.
Not even
Yeah, it was
not even legit. I love it.
Yeah, it was like it was definitely from Kmart. It was X-Shot or something like that from memory. It was originally white, blue, and orange.
I think
so.
Hang on, I'm just gonna see whether this is where we're at. Hang on, where? Here we go.
And Co is the Kmart brand. Trust me, I'm all over it.
Oh, look,
we're
I
talking,
think you're on the money. You're on one of them around there. Yeah. It wasn't
Yeah.
that one in particular,
It's
but
called
yeah, you're
Birth
close.
or Bath.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
but that
looking
was
at
it.
this, that could be something very close.
Yeah. So
Rich,
that served the main kind of body, foundation of it, because what I wanted was after we saw the Razor Crest. Once we saw the Razor Crest, we were like, right, we can't go anywhere near that kind of concept and body like. But with Cyric, because she was someone who was quite intimidating and ruthless
and gorgeous
and
in
elegant.
blue, by the way. Yes.
And she was also very tall, long, and elegant. And she also has her weapon of choice is this long rifle. It was that whole thing of something being quite long.
Girlfriend, she was all that. Yeah, no.
we will pass on to
We went,
Kirsty the amount of
which is really good. Yeah, which is really good to kind of add that Ben, although Ben has done some Brazilian jiu-jitsu and mixed martial art, he's never really been in a production where he's been in a choreographed fight scene in this way, and Kirsty less so. So Kirsty has never done an action scene. I'll never forget how much I laughed when the first day of choreography, with the first day of training, and Igor asked Kirsty, he was like, hey, can you do a forward roll? And she just laughed and went, no, because that's not something someone would do every day to day to day.
I was 5.
Yeah. So it was fantastic. And then, he's someone who, couldn't do a forward roll, and now in the film she's doing cartwheels and back bends and all manner of,
How long did that training take for them?
So we met for about 6 months. We met once a week, mostly, to train. What's amazing is that when you see, actually click on that photo of Kirsty there in the Mad Max premiere, because Kirsty was in an extra.
What?
Yeah, Kirsty was an extra in Fury Road.
I'm already in love. Quinny, get onto it.
I'm trying.
So she if you see how she was on the first day of the choreography, to the way that she was by the end of the shoot, and the physical transformation that she went, it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. Like, she was like
a really great fight scene. I actually thought those guys were already kind of fight choreography, or
I mean that's all
that had been
that's all credit to Eagle, because Eagle was able to work with me in terms of what I wanted out of the fight scene. How
did you have stunt people for them?
No.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I'm so
So truth be told, we try and keep it under wraps as much as possible. There are 2 moves where Igor himself doubled for Ben, but Kirsty it's all her. So the
there aren't too many people who could double for her.
Yeah. But even with Ben, Ben took a lot of hard hits. At one point, he actually got kicked in the face, and it's in the film. So that was the last take, because we got it on camera and it was perfect. And I was like, well, we don't need to do that again. And he was okay. He was okay. We rushed to him. We were like, you okay? He was just I'm fine, yeah. So we all laugh about it now, and we love that it made the final cut. But I mean, massive kudos to Ben, because Ben delivered a lot of great nuanced performance in this character. But he was really Yeah, our Rocky Balboa. He really
Right,
took
I
those
just want
hits
to
and kept.
want to give credit to Scott there, who's apparently offered to double for Kirsty. But knowing
But-
Scott, you know what? I could imagine it.
But again, Chris, this goes back to the fact that each actor had their own motives for, their fight scenes and what have you. Like, there was this desperation to protect what was going on there, and then the other desperation of, oh, I'm just a bounty hunter, and like both of those were so evident. So the choreography that you guys had done was really nuanced, as you were just saying, and the performances that they had, like, I am just blown away with this film. Honestly, like the choreography, and as you know, the music and the editing and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I'm just
and
I get to talk
just
to you about it.
Yeah, just to move on to like then sound and music. So sound was done by we actually had our original sound designer. So again, Queenie, earlier on when we were talking about challenges and so many, we had a lot of people that on this project that for various reasons and mostly personal reasons had to drop out of the production. And one of those areas was also our sound designer originally. And so we were recommended by a friend for Stephen Rice, who is based in Queensland. And at the time, because it was like, it was the bushfires, it was COVID, everybody was working remotely anyway. So once we got into Stephen, and Stephen being a massive Star Wars fan, relishing the opportunity to do something like this because he's never quite done anything like this creatively, we got him doing the sound. So a lot of what I did was sort of assisting him in the sense of that I would lay out what would be a rough little soundtrack. And a lot of footnotes to what I'm kind of what I'm wanting to hear, what I'm trying to find, and everything. And he was able to really source that. And then the final mix of it was again, having some Mad Max Fury Road, credibility. Was done over at Powwow Film Studios, which is over in North Sydney, who were able to facilitate and help us out with wrapping post-production on Blaster. And they were able to do the final sound mix, re-recording mix there. So, which was headed up by, again, Oscar-winning re-recording mixer, Peter Purcell, who's an absolute gem of a man. And he was able to, again, one day, take all the tracks in and just mix it for us and have it ready for our screening.
Did you have like a vision for the sound and the music for this film?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you translate that?
So, bad English. No, you just do it in the best of ways that you can. And yeah. So if I can't describe it, like normally visually, because it's very hard to translate, sort of visual things. I am lucky enough that I can illustrate. And I can do detailed storyboards, plans, floor plans, things like that. So visually, if people can hear one thing, literally storyboards drawn, comic strips.
Yeah, Richard is an amazing artist.
Oh,
I
thank you.
don't know this bit of him. Okay. That's it.
Over the weeks, over in the coming weeks, possibly next month, we'll release a small little snippet of a scene from Blaster playing parallel with the storyboards, so you can see, the before and after, sort of the visualization of it all. So we'll release that, but that's how I usually communicate. Now, when you're talking about sound and music, much harder. And so I tend to write just detailed direction notes of what of specific things I'm trying to hear. It helps me making the sounds like zoom. Doing certain sound effects. It's like I need it to sound more like a vroom or or something like, more gravelly. That helps rather than putting it into
More like a
certain words.
saber.
Or yeah, or the internet is an amazing thing, and you can just find a lot of snippets out there, so it's easy to
The Wilhelm
communicate
scream.
with people. And
Did you have
yeah,
that?
and then you just find time codes in your timeline, and you just go, at this bit here, we should have this in the background, I'm thinking. But I always like to, this is the thing, it's collaboration. It's not me just going, it's my way or the highway. I basically, have a ballpark. So I give them some kind of direction, but I'm open to ideas, and then they come to me. The most amazing collaboration out of everything that I've had, and I'm so fortunate because he's screened all but one. Sorry, he's done the score for my music for all my films but one, and that's Jaden Lawrence. So Jaden Lawrence is. You talk about like this simpatico kind of, collaboration, this relationship that you
The
have.
Tim Burton and
Oh,
Danny Elfman.
we've done these subtle, really geeky, stupid jokes where we lovingly say he's my Williams and I'm his Spielberg. So
Yeah.
because
Classy.
we
much
just
classier than Danny Elfman and the other guy.
Shut up,
no,
Quentin.
because we just
No, I
work
liked
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
The first production we did was on Quinnell with Where the Jackal Sleeps. So he did the music for that. That was the first time I worked with him, and he nailed it because we were
Yeah,
going
really
for
did.
these Jerry Goldsmith. So if you know Jerry Goldsmith and his scores,
Yes, I do. I'm
we
a
would.
fan, of course.
Yeah, we were riffing off that kind of stuff with those classic horror movies as well, but also those kind of those Jerry Goldsmith
Epic.
sci-fi, the
Yes,
atmosphere that he would create, and he nailed it. But the real testament to how well we worked was we did a movie that we did for a 48-hour film competition. So it was basically script to screen, all within 48 hours. We did a movie called Flytrap. He was based in LA. So what he knew that we were going to do it. He knew that as soon as we clicked the button, the timer would start. We start production. He knew very well that the time difference, and by the time we'd get to
Yes.
having a first edit, that then he'd be in LA going, right, need to get working on this. And he was able to churn out this amazing score for Flytrap
That's
within
so
the time
cool.
frame we needed. And that was just a testament of how well he works, but also how well we work together. Because as soon as I pitched him, the tone I was going for, and an example of it, because I was going for more of because Flytrap is almost has a Hitchcock level of suspense in it. So going on Hitchcock's composer, which was Berman, and really getting that kind of quality in that atmosphere was crucial. And so he'd go away, he'd write, and how it goes with Jaden is that normally the first or second draft he gets back to me, he's nailed. I just hear it the first time. I'm like, how are you doing this? You're going into my mind
In my
and you're
head,
plucking,
yeah.
plucking the music I'm hearing that I don't even know I'm hearing.
So was he involved in Blaster? Or was
yes,
that the person
yeah,
that was
he's involved in
Blaster?
all of them. It was only my very first short film that he
makes
didn't score.
So much sense.
So with Blaster, it was a case of we spoke about it. We spoke about what we were going for. Again, he was the one that would call me or message me from LA, going, watching Mandalorian, going, this is surreal. And sometimes he'd be like, I have to try and not make it sound like Mandalorian.
It's like,
and everything.
Don't use the the bass recorder.
Doom doom.
That's apparently
yeah. So yeah.
Don't listen to that. That was my soundtrack for like a year. I loved it. But,
wait, you listen to yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say,
you listen to Jaden's music. Oh,
that you got underhanded on all that, because what you were striving for and what you wanted to achieve is fuck Mandalorian.
Wow. Let's maybe not go all the way there.
No, look,
I'm really happy that you got to achieve what you wanted out of that. I'm sorry that it was underhanded by, it ended up being in the TV series that happened. But I'm so happy and proud of you for that film. It is really fantastic, and I can't wait for everyone else to see it.
Absolutely.
thank
And
you.
I
Yeah.
think, Missy, you have done the job that I was just about to do,
I'm
which
done.
was
Yep.
giving us the wrap
I'm
up.
done.
No, look, you have done a wonderful job. Thank you very much for just being the interviewer that I could not be.
Sorry, Quinny. You did the first 2 hours.
No.
I'll do the next.
Yeah, no, it's all good, and I love it. Look, thank you so much.
I'm a huge fan of yours, and I love your work. And Blaster is amazing, and you absolutely deserve all the kudos
thank
you
you.
in all the festivals. Good for you, mate.
Thank you, Missy. No, thank you. Like
cut me
honestly,
out,
Thanks,
no.
Missy.
I really appreciate hearing those kind of sentiments, especially after what we've gone through. I mean, look, I'm a huge Mandalorian fan. I'm obsessed. I love it. But it is really I'd say it's incredibly rewarding after the fact that we've got something like Mandalorian that's out there, and yet our film is still being embraced and appreciated for what it is, and I'm truly grateful, and even hearing those kind of reactions and love from Missy and from people like her as well is extraordinary. So yeah, thank you, Missy.
I just want to point out that while we've been doing this, Rob, who was with us just before, has actually gone off and watched the whole film. And has posted on our Facebook saying, just watched it, fantastic film, loved it. As Missy was saying earlier tonight, the music soundtrack is just spot on. You can close your eyes and just imagine the world in a universe far, far away. Loved how a lot of the film relies in the imagery to tell the story, and any dialogue was there out of necessity, no wasted words. I look forward to the sequel, and maybe even a prequel with the blue bounty hunter lady, because yes, I think we all want to see a little more of the blue bounty hunter lady.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, look, I'm very impressed by that, and I thank you very much. We have, I think we've come to the end of our time. We've been going for nearly 2.5 hours, which is longer than our usual podcasts, but that's okay. Richard, very, very, very excited about seeing where we're going next. You showed us all up, Rob, but no, you didn't. We just appreciate you. Look, whatever the next thing is that you're doing, super, super pumped to see what it will be. And as you well know, I'm more than willing to do dumb things like put on moustaches and silly voices to join you. But of course, we'll be seeing you at Supernova next weekend.
Yes, yeah, thank you. And I'm going to hold you to that, Quinny. Thank you.
Yeah. Look, yeah. So I will say, if there's any way that we can do it where I don't have to shave the beard, that'd be great. Because let me tell you, this is the thing I haven't told anyone about, that the jackal, where the jackal sleeps. After I'd finished shooting it, I had to be clean shaven for a while because my facial hair doesn't grow back that fast, and we needed to go the moustache, and yeah, everybody looked at me and just went, no, put a fake beard on. Do whatever the fuck you need to do, Quiddy. Do not just get it by without the beard.
I really put my actors through hell. Sorry, but I love you guys. You know that.
And we do love you too. Missy's asked in the chat, are we talking about Loki? I would love to, but we are now at 2 and 20 minutes. So I think come next week, there will probably not be. I won't be doing a stream next week because it's Supernova, and that's going to be real tiring. But we will be talking about Loki sometime very soon. I do want to say, really enjoyed it. What did you think of it, Rich?
I love Loki. Look, I was a huge fan of WandaVision. That was the one series that was announced that I was most excited about. I enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier as well. The one that I was the most skeptical, and I was on my own on this, was Loki. But after the first episode this week, I'm completely on board. It had, for me, it had massive Terry Gilliam vibes.
Oh, shit.
So Terry Gilliam in the MCU, more of that, please. Absolutely.
Yeah, a whole heap of Brazil, a bunch of
Yep.
the Zero Theorem.
Time
Yeah.
Bandits. Yep.
Oh
Yep.
God,
Yep.
yeah. Actually, I didn't even
Yeah.
think of Time Bandits, but yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
got that kind of that vibe, but with a bit of the MCU stuff. And I've
Yeah.
realized the thing that I enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Love that
Yeah.
show. It was good, but the thing that I feel like everybody latched onto with WandaVision was the ability to engage with it on a kind of spoilery level, and
Yeah.
to pore over it,
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go, what's that in the
Oh.
background, what's this, and
Yeah.
this week I've seen our Marvel thread just go ape shit again with all of the people going, oh, did you see this, oh, did you see that, what about this, what about the reference to Doctor Who, what reference to fucking Doctor Who, oh, where he calls him a criminal with a blue box, and I'm like, what, oh my god.
Yeah, I know. Especially with that specific one shot that I know you're referring to. As soon as I saw that, I went, "Oh, here we go. The internet's going to go ballistic over this one shot and everything."
Which
It's like,
one shot?
Haven't we learnt from WandaVision? Let's just wait and see.
Oh, you're talking about the actual Mephisto.
Yes, yeah. I didn't know if we could spoil it or not. Yeah, absolutely. The mosaic in the church, and there's what clearly looks like it'd be a reference or a nod to Mephisto. I'm just like, oh look, come on, guys. Let's just wait.
I mean,
and
I
see.
think they know now. I think they know what they're doing.
So?
I'm pretty sure, like that whole stained glass window of Mephisto. I was like, oh come on, now you're just being fucking smartasses. And I'm in for that because we're all on board with it. I think we're all very excited about what are the possibilities. Is the cat a flirkin? How many of the Infinity Stones are in that particular drawer, and what else is in the drawer around them? All that kind of stuff, and who is the big bad for the series going to be? Other evil Loki?
Yeah.
Or is there another bad guy that we're actually not aware of yet?
Yeah, just going off that first episode, it sets up what the series is going to be, and that's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and it's going to be a hell of a ride. So I'm super happy for it. So yeah, and this is it. I love Loki, but I just wasn't too excited or wrapped for a series. But after that episode, I'm sold. Yeah.
Okay, sorry if you haven't watched it yet, but then again, I don't think we've actually said anything that's entirely spoiler for that episode. Yeah. I think there are. I think there is a lot in that episode. Owen Wilson is amazing. Tom Hiddleston is just nailing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of fun to be had with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also really loved. I love the emotional arc that we're getting out of a lot of these shows. So
yeah. Just on that note, with emotional arc, this is the thing where I actually get really defensive and almost upset when people that criticize Marvel films or these superhero films, especially anything with the MCU, because they're in a league of their own. They're doing great work, and everyone that works for them, they know these are things that have quite a lot of substance to them, and that's just it. We're getting amazing character-driven stories that these actors and screenwriters and directors are absolutely relishing in with this creative freedom. And if you can't see that for what it is, that scene in Loki with Hiddleston, where we've touched on it in other areas. WandaVision did it beautifully, exploring the stages of grief for Wanda and everything. And now with Loki, we're starting to see that side of why he is the way he is, and he isn't such a cookie cutter black and white villain.
No, and I love that Owen
to
Wilson is all about that. Like, why do you hurt people? What's in it for you? And I mean, I've seen so many weird theories already that, Owen Wilson is a version of Loki from the future, and and he's just trying to guide him through growing up, basically. And there's all of that stuff with Loki seeing versions of his other timelines and everything. You're like, shit, they're really allowing us to spend time with characters and get to know them and understand them on a better level. And I as much as I enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I feel like there was not as much growth. For everybody who loves Bucky, I still feel like there wasn't necessarily the massive sort of growth in there. Realistically, to me, that series was very much about here's the new Captain America, and I'm down for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was also like rife with social commentary, which again,
oh god, yeah,
I was all for it, because how do you do something like that with that kind of narrative and not address those kind of issues in this day and age? And I thought that was great, coming from a show like that as well. So I was all for that. But yeah, we did lose a lot of the those little personal, more intimate moments of what ultimately sets these characters and these films, these productions, from everything else, and that should be credited, a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's going to be a lot of that. And there's a little part of me that's almost like, I'm worried about where we go for the rest of the MCU and everything, because I don't necessarily want to go back to 2.5 hour stories. I kind of like my breathing room.
I know. So it's kind of interesting. Like I just feel like everything that Kevin Feige, as long as he's in that chair, he can do no wrong. I think the real decider is going to be with the Eternals when that comes out.
Yeah.
Because that looks amazing, but so different than anything else. And I remember when they talked about Guardians, and Guardians of the Galaxy was the ultimate risky move, and rightfully so. And that one paid off.
Ballsy move.
But the Eternals, I think the Eternals is far ballsier than anything that any studio has ever set out to kind of make.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's doing something so different, and also the danger of doing something that could potentially undermine a lot of what you've done so far. All these people going, so what? There have been these superpowered immortal beings that have just been sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah,
right, okay.
Well,
but then again, we're changing the landscape with Loki too. Like what I love about it is that it's changed the stakes. In the entire Infinity Saga, 20 whatever it is films, the stakes were the universe, the stakes were the Infinity Stones, the half of life that is everywhere. And I love that within WandaVision and Loki, you found two things that have just said that's actually not that big a deal. Here's the next layer. Here's the next thing that we're doing. Your Infinity Stones, paperweights, whatever.
That was hilarious. I found that hilarious. But that is also great little little touches of great science fiction. Do you know what I mean? Like in a lot of worlds, and when you read these things, you put, especially in people's lives, you put so much importance in one specific thing, but really you find out how insignificant that thing or you yourself are, because the galaxy is so big. And when you're looking at these time streams and everything,
the idea that at some point in time there were multiple time streams fighting each other.
Exactly.
Not just universes, entire like eons of existence fighting.
It's fantastic. That's the thing. I'm just absolutely loving everything that they're setting up with this series, but also we all know how this is going to have major ramifications for what's to come, so, and that's going to be really thrilling and interesting to see as well, because a lot of this as well, I mean, what happened in WandaVision is also going to tie into, well, literally goes straight into Doctor Strange and the
Yeah.
Multiverse of Madness, and Loki looks like it's verging in the
Ooh,
same
same
way
writer.
as well. Yeah,
This is something that I saw today that got me quite excited. Is that the guy writing Loki wrote WandaVision? Sorry, not WandaVision. Sorry, wrote Multiverse of Madness. And somebody asked him the question of like, are you peppering stuff in Loki that you can then pay off in Multiverse? And he's kind of like, maybe. And there are already great videos out there of people kind of asking some interesting questions, like the fact that the time cleansing little bloops, whatever those things are, they happen to use purple magic or purple energy, which is the same as Dormammu and is the same as Agatha, and also happens to be the same color as Kang the Conqueror,
which can you remind me which film or series is Kang meant to debut?
I have no idea. At the moment,
it's been announced.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Oh, no. Apparently, Kang has now gone back in time and removed Richard from the stream because we can't be having Richard telling everybody where he actually appears. No, there he is. There he is. He's back. Hang on. I'll. There you go. Kang removed you from the stream.
I felt like shit. Disney's listening to us. They just cut the feed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's terrible. We now need to end because I'm pretty sure there's a laser pointer on your back or mine.
They announced it. They made it official. I just can't remember what film it was. But I love Kang, so I'm really interested.
I think he's an utterly ridiculous looking character, but that's in the comics, and they're all utterly ridiculous characters until they're put onto a screen.
I gotta give love to Jack Kirby. Come on, I love Jack. Kirby's
yeah, I love
designs.
Jack Kirby. His stuff looks amazing on a page, but when you translate it directly, it looks fucking stupid. Unless you pay it off like Ragnarok did.
Taika. Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
Taika is one of the only ones who's just gone, I'm leaning in on that Kirby bullshit. Let's go for it.
I cannot wait for Love and Thunder. Bring it on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, Rich, it's been an absolute pleasure. Next time, let's just talk some shit about other stuff because I love Blaster and I think it's great and I cannot wait to see what you do next. But also, I just love talking to you about all the cool stuff that we love.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Love it.
We will see you next weekend at Supernova, which is crazy. Oh no, Sarah Cobain, what? Are you sad? Did you come in late? Oh no.
Oh no. What's going on? Oh gosh.
Somebody's come in and opened up with some tears. Oh. I'm sorry that you've come in at such a sad time. You've come in just in time for the end. Look, we'll see you next weekend at Supernova. Thank you so much for joining us. Tuesday night. You know what? That's the one thing I do want to share because I need to find it. I need to share the screen. Now, where did I put it? Did I put it on the desktop? Yes. Sorry. There we go. I'm going to just open this one with preview and show you in the preview so that everybody gets a bit of an idea as to what the hell we're doing for the rest of June. So let's go to, there we go. Here is our schedule. Crazy times. And there is a bit of a present there for Casper. So looking ahead for the rest of this month, we did Sweet Tooth this week. Right now, we're talking about Blast in the Right Hands. We are looking at Army of the Dead, the Zack Snyder film. I'm not entirely sure about that one because, quite frankly, I'm not entirely sold on it. Friday the 18th, Dion is wanting to do a Fast and Furious Saga recap. So while I won't be around, Dion is going to do some Fast and the Furious talking. Tuesday, we're going to be looking at movies that destroyed your childhood. So that one is we all remember that moment of the never-ending story. Yeah, it's that just over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Source of
then
sadness.
then we're doing the Bad Batch recap because Dion's obviously very excited about that. It's a Friday night thing. Tuesday 25th, we are looking at 29th, sorry, Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a long time coming. One of our regulars, Casper, has been asking for it since essentially since we started streaming this shit on Twitch. So that one's for him. At the moment, I see that there is no Loki in there, so who knows? We may have a bit of a think about that and find out where we're going to put Loki in. But that's what you're looking forward to for the rest of the month. And yes, Missy, Dion does suck. Richard, thank you so much for joining us, and to all of our viewers who have joined us for the past 2.5 hours. You've been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for everyone. Thank you, much appreciated. Thanks, Queenie.
No problem, man. And look, love you, and see you soon. Thank you, everybody, and good night.